Hello everyone, this is James Shore with another test-driven development video, and I am picking up a little bit later since my last video. It is still May 27th, but it's been a few hours since I last recorded for me. But when we left off, we had gotten, oh yeah, I remember now. We had gotten the code written to handle the icon, but it's not showing up. So I need to do a little exploration to figure out what's going on here. It looks like everything's programmed properly. We've got setIcon calling setIcon. We've got setIcon inside of the $text field setting the icon. There's the question of whether or not dollars is setting the icon properly, but that seems pretty much for certain because we're doing it right here. And also because we see it show up here. I mean, there's the icon being set. So I suspect what's going on here is just that we've got a layout problem. So I'm going to do a little inline spiking to figure this out, and once I have it figured out, I'll undo and redo it with tests. So is there anything in our to-do list that could be the issue? No, I think it's just a matter of fiddling. So let's take a look at this. In our icon, we're creating an overlay layout. Great. We're doing some flow layout stuff that I don't think matters in this case. And the main thing that we're doing here is we're adding the icon first and then the text field. And then we're doing some opacity stuff. Let's try that. Let's try adding the icon first and then the text field. There it is. Yeah, we were doing it in the wrong order. So, and of course it's not showing up in the right spot on the screen, but that's less of an issue. Oh, that's so cool. Okay, so yeah, that's easily resolved. And interestingly, I'm not having to deal with the opacity stuff like I did in the spike. I'm not sure why that is, but I'm not gonna. That felt kind of weird anyway, so I'm not gonna bother. Not gonna do that unless I absolutely have to, which I don't think I do. So now I've moved this. That should cause all the tests to fail. Yes. What if I put it back? The test should pass. Yes. And what I need to do then is, I had a to-do that about creating abstraction methods. That's what I need to do. I need to have, I want to move that without changing every single test. Oops, wrong class. Without changing every single test. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to write a little, some little helper methods about that. So I think I'll make an icon label and a text field helper, or icon component and field component. Yeah, let's do that. I could do it as a helper method, or I could just do it in the setup. I think I'll just do it in the setup. That's a little more idiomatic. So this will be the text component, and this will be the icon component. And the text component will equal components 0 because I haven't changed that yet. And the icon component will equal components 1. Now this should still work because that was, I haven't started using the new code yet. Yeah. So now here, this is a nice cleanup. Here I'll say text component. Here I'll say icon component. And here I'll say icon component. And I can get rid of that and just call this icon component. Let me make sure I'm doing this right. Yep. And then call this icon component. And icon component. And that again should still pass. Yeah. So now I can just switch these around. I can say that the icon component is first and the text component is second. That is going to fail. Yep. It's saying it wants a text field and what we have is a label. And then here we can switch this around. Oops. And hopefully see a happy ninja. Yay, happy ninja. Okay, so, and what that means is that now this should work properly. Now there is a problem with this test, which is that there's some implicit knowledge here that the icon must be added to the component first. And that's not really reflected in the test. So somebody who isn't aware of what's going on could come in the future and change that. Now that would cause the test to break because there's some hard-coded stuff here. But they may not know that. They might just fix the test and move on. Now whenever you're doing look and feel stuff, you always need to test your assumptions, but again, that could be somebody being lazy, like me, or somebody who doesn't know that. So I think what I want to say here is that the icon must come before the text component. Is there any way for me to say that? I don't think so. When I've done stuff like this in JavaScript, I can say I'm doing something very similar using Raphael for JavaScript for my Rubu project, which is a really cool open source project, plug. You can find it at teamrabu, teamrabu.com. Okay, enough advertising. Anyway, in that project, I'm drawing a graph and I'm doing TDD to make sure the graph is showing up. And each segment of the graph has a dot next, which allows me to see what happens, which component comes next. But I don't think we have that option here. So I suppose it might be possible to ask the layout who's on top. Let's take a look at that. Let's see, it's an overlay layout. There it is. I know, I'm not seeing anything in there about who's on top of who. So I'm just going to make a little comment here saying, note, for layout to display properly. For overlay layout, let's do it this way. And then I need more space. Note, for overlay layout to work properly, icon must be first. If you change the ordering, if you change the way components are added to the container, be sure to do a visual check. There. So I'm not opposed to comments, but I'd much rather have tests that do that rather than comments, because comments, there's nothing to remind you to read them. A test, you break it and you have to go fix it before you move on if you're even coming close to doing the work right. Comment, you don't have to see it. So I put this here because it's closest to what could be changed to break this. But I've seen cases where experienced, dedicated people just have a blind spot. They will not read a comment because comments don't get updated and they lie. So they skip the comments and just look at the source code. So I'd much rather have a test here, but I don't see a way of doing that. So just have to do it without the test. So there we go. We've got our exclamation mark showing up properly. But it's not showing up in the right spot. So now what we need to do, I think, is we need to say the layout needs an icon, but really that icon, that first component, needs to be a panel. So icon should be contained within a panel. So we've got components 0, got get class, that should be jpanel.class. That's going to fail because it's an icon, or it's a label, I mean. Yeah, icon should be contained within a panel, expected blah, but was blah. So what I'm going to do here is now we're going to get components 0 dot get components 0. So that's a panel that we're going into. Okay, so let's back this out. This is going to be the icon panel. And the icon component is going to be icon panel dot get components 0. There. Now this should still fail. My TDD is not going to be happy with me. Arr, he's angry. But now what I can do is in here, rather than adding the components directly, or rather than adding the icon to the overlay layout, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the icon panel. I'm going to make a jpanel icon panel. and I think that will work. I'm not sure it will work. No, it does. Good. Oh, my TD Gotchi got downgraded. Oh, there he's back. Okay. Oh, and that's our time. So we're going to continue with this in the next episode. Thanks very much for watching. I will catch you next time.